Para X.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Next 2 hours, be prepared to open your mind to the edgier side of the metaphysical world. The topics discussed may prove disturbing to some, but are all a part of the world in which we live. Welcome to the Rev and Witch Show. Listener discretion.
Hey everybody, this is Tim Shaw. How are you guys? It's been a while since I've been on here, and I am so thrilled that we're going to do a Rev and Witch Show. And along with me is the effervescent, iridescent, although somewhat short. She's I don't want to say that my little sister Marla is so short, but she's actually sitting on a couple beer cases in order to go and reach the board. But hi, how you doing, Marla? It's been a while.
Yes, it has, and it's just right back wwhere we left off. Which is not a bad
always.
Not a bad
No,
thing.
not really. Really, you think about it, and, Marla, you think about this, and it's really just something that's fun. It's something that's exciting. And, I've been on the road a lot, and I've been doing a lot of different little things, tidbits here and there, as you know. Mm-hmm. And it's so nice that, we're actually getting a chance on this Samhain evening to be able to go and be on the air together. It's great. And may I say, I am remote viewing you, and your hair is perfect.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. So's yours.
How's my hair? Wait a minute. How's my hair? Is it
that
looking
one?
good?
Okay, but that one that's just right on the left side, the only one, it's kind of sticking out.
That's it.
It's only you have one hair, and it's a cowlick. Yes. Yeah,
it is, and I'm going to have to scrape that thing. I went and I sharpened a couple new rocks, so I'll be able to scrape my hair for my head for this for the next events that I'm doing. So, hey, what have you been up to, Mar? I mean, you are someone who is just a person that's out there. You're busy. You're an author. What have you been up to outside of like sending me little curses and daggers and fun things like that?
Well, I never ever do that to you because you're way more powerful than I am, so I'm not stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You stood behind me in the bank line after I've eaten beans, so yeah, I am pretty powerful.
I know. Oh, how do we know so well? Well, I was telling you, I just got Schiffer to send you a new copy of the second edition, which is Oracle deck. Because why? Because you wrote the foreword, and I think that's necessary. Mm-hmm.
You know what? And you know what? Not to promote your deck or anything, but it is a great deck. And it's funny because, as a lot of you know, I was trained not to use anything whatsoever to do readings. But I find that falling back on, working a tarot deck or an oracle deck is really comforting in case I run into a problem where there's a blockage or the person is not receptive to what I'm trying to say to them. So I love the deck. I mean, I really do, even though I did write the foreword and I had an advanced copy of, I got a chance to really look at the deck and look at the beautiful artwork in it. But I really enjoy using it, and I can't wait to get the newest edition of the deck. And I'll be taking it with me wherever I go. As a matter of fact, I'll be in the supermarket, and I'll be pushing a cart, and I'll just kind of like tap the person in front of me and on the shoulder, and I'll just turn around and say, "Hey, look, this is new. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should buy it." And they may be a Jehovah's Witness, and maybe I shouldn't do it, but
get kicked in the shins on your way out, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
No, but I get along with all different religions. You know that. As a matter of fact, I had some Mormons actually come up to the door not too long ago, and I love it. Oh no, I love it. I absolutely love it because I've actually read most of the Book of Mormon, and where I live, I'm about 70, 75 miles away from Palmyra, Hill Cumorah, where Joseph Smith received the golden tablets from the Angel Moroni. So I get a chance to go, and you really should. People, in their own backyards, they don't realize how much is out there. And I shouldn't say like 75 miles is in my own backyard, but after this year, all the miles that I've traveled, it really is. So it's really great. And there's so much in it. And the history is so interesting. So if anybody gets a chance, I mean, you guys really should take a little side trip. And what's neat is you go to Palmyra, and you talk to people up there, and you get a chance to really learn a little bit about what they're doing. But not too far away is the foundations of the original Fox Cottage before it was moved to Lilydale. Nice. And now it's underneath like a pole barn with plexiglass windows all the way around it. And I know the caretaker now. So I'm hoping next year I'm going to be able to do a little on-air interview, whether it's audio or we're going to do a video, I'm not sure. And I'm going to get a chance to work right from there, right from the actual foundations of the Fox family. That's just mind-blowing because for me, that's like going to Bethlehem. People don't get that. Oh man, it's great. And whether or not you believe the stories or not, it's the fact that it becomes part of modern mythology. And I think in our day and age, unfortunately, too many people toss out whatever they don't want to hear, whatever they don't want to see. And modern mythology, like urban legends, gets swept underneath the rug. This is a chance that people can actually go out there and see something like that. So I am looking forward to it. So I can't wait. And I'm sure that you can tell by my excitement in my voice that I am just like, oh my God, I can't wait to go back there.
I know. And you don't get excited doing cartwheel excitement very often. I mean, you get excited. No. You're very excitable. How's that? But
yeah, I am.
Yeah, you can be. But as I digress. But I mean, to do something like that. I mean, I know that you're a big history buff, and I am too in a way. So to be able to go and see and touch and feel and all that good stuff, that's amazing.
Oh, it is. It is. Very. Oh, and have I told you that I actually got entrance to Witch Doctor Atu's Niagara, Ontario's Voodoo Shrine? Have I talked to you since then?
No.
Oh, it is. Oh, first of all, I love Otu. He's a great guy, and he's just a fun guy. And he invited me into his home, which is the shrine. And there is not, you know what? It reminds me of my office. There are effigies, and there is the voodoo dolls, and coffins and human skulls, and it looks like something out of New Orleans. It really does. And New Orleans is like one of my most favorite places to go in the whole world. So to be able to go and get entrance into there, that was like going into the inner sanctum. That you walked in there and it was just like, wow, you could feel the power in there. And of course, they had a Ouija board over the kitchen sink, which really made me feel at home.
Right at home,
so,
yes.
Oh gosh, yeah, that to me was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. So yeah, I got a chance to go there. And right now, where is he? Oh, he was up in Salem for for Halloween, and I'm not sure if it's Hex Fest or no. I think that's out in New Orleans. But he was up there, and my good friend Kat from Cat and Monkey up in Ontario at their shop up there, and they all went there. The Dragon Ritual drummers played up there in Salem. Man, I can't even imagine to think what that's got to be like. Maybe next year I might make a pilgrimage up there at Halloween.
Well, you should. And you know what? Speaking of Utu, he did write that book on Harriet Tubman, and we need to get him on, maybe for a Rev and Witch, to talk about it, because it's a really interesting book.
He's still on the road right now.
Yeah.
But when he gets home, I'll nail him down. I'm trying to get him, actually, for the spring tour, I'm trying to get him to come to Western New York and teach a couple classes, because his classes are amazing. Really amazing. He does a lot of traditional work, and I'm kind of lucky because I'm one of you know me. I'm like a chameleon when it comes to going out there and talking to people, and and getting invitations to rituals and camps and things of that nature. And that book is so powerful. It's people really, it's not just a voodoo book. It is it's almost hoodoo, because voodoo is the worship of deities, and hoodoo is the worship of ancestors. And this is so hoodoo. Not only does it have the history of Harriet Tubman and the first freedmen that crossed the Niagara River into Canada, but it also has some wonderful spell work in there and some voodoo stuff. And you know what, Mar, I got to tell you, you want me to just clue you in where I visited when I was up in Canada, when I was up for the Voodoo and the Witchcraft and Voodoo Festival that I spoke at?
Do tell.
I actually was in the church where Harriet Tubman spoke, and it was the last station on the Underground Railroad. Oh. It is still there. It's right down the street from where we had the little festival, and it was awe-inspiring. Now, Harriet Tubman really isn't considered voodoo or hoodoo, but she and many of the first freedmen who actually came, and went up there, brought with them a lot of ancestral ways about them, and and it's like anything else. It's funny, like, my one friend Onyx, her grandma was Strega, which is Sicilian witchcraft, and she, she always says if you had called grandma a witch, she would have beat you with a broom. But there's so many folk ways that you use in spell work and these life paths that people sort of miss, because everybody thinks that you got to join the religion. You got to, everything has got to be, anti-Christian, Judeo-Christian. Everything's got to be this or that. And the melting of the two, which is like voodoo and hoodoo, of course, and some Santeria, it's a wonderful mixture. And if you can understand that concept, boy, it opens up a whole new pathway for you. And as I say this with a 3-foot effigy of Santa Muerte watching me behind for over my shoulder, I just love it. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about him. Sorry, I don't know why I keep thinking it's a she.
Her, you got better say her. Better say her. I just heard her rustling behind me.
No, stop. I think I said her, but anyway, because it's Samhain. But I want to say something first, that as long as we go along, whoever's in the chat room, you may have questions or comments for either of us. So please don't be shy about asking. Just, send me a private message or send Tim a private message, and we'll get to that. And also, if you're not in chat, please also don't be shy about coming over to the chat room at paraxradionetwork.com. So, yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about Halloween and Samhain and all kinds of stuff. And, yes, Dia de los Muertos and all kinds of goodies. So, all right. So Tim, I'm going to pick your brain tonight. And,
first,
wait a minute.
First of all, there's not a whole lot to pick up there.
Yeah.
I can pick my nose. That's about all I can pick. But my brain, there's not much there.
Well, but I spent all afternoon sharpening the pick. So trust me, you won't feel a thing. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. All right. So first of all, let's talk about Samhain a minute. And let's talk about any particular Samhain ritual that you might do. Because I don't know what you do there, sneaky behind the desk there. So, what do you do? Any kind of rituals for Samhain, or any special things?
I do the worship of ancestors. I have 2 altars, even though I'm a spiritualist, and I shouldn't have altars. A good spiritualist doesn't really have altars.
Shame
but I do have 2, and one is for the goddess, of course, and I do that. Because I like to honor the craft traditions. I really do, because, being a good old-fashioned Scotch-Irishman that I am here, I like to go and honor my ancestors that have brought this, before us all. Mm-hmm. But I also have a smaller one where, I do have my parents and my in-laws who have, my mother-in-law just passed in this year in February, and I have, little bits and pieces for them. And I do something that the late Ray Buckland always told me to do. And, you don't have to do anything like really grandiose, but I like to light a candle, just a single white candle on Samhain to go and honor everyone. And I anoint it. Yeah. I got, and in Utu's book, he's got a family recipe, from someone who, this recipe was actually passed down through the generations from the first ancestors that went to Canada. It's called Jerusalem oil. And I got to tell you what, it's some kick-ass stuff. It is unbelievable. I use it for all my, for any kind of anointing of positive candles, for indulgences, for absentee healing. It is wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. So it's worth it. Just to be honest with you, I mean, I buy most of my oils down at the Botanica del Indio here in Buffalo, New York, which is I like their oils because they're pretty powerful, and they're for specific reasons. But this Jerusalem oil is amazing. It really is amazing, and I just love it. So every time I light any kind of a candle, whether it's a tall votive, a small, short, or how can I say this? A targeted specialty candle, for positive purposes. I use that. I really do, and I think it's really it's just amazing.
Wow! See, learn new things as you go along. Well, I'm kind of like you. I burn a white candle on Samhain, and I will if it ever gets dark here. Well, daylight savings time will be here too soon, but I'll have a candle tonight, and it's a good way. And like you, I have an ancestor altar, and I have another altar too. So all right, we're both kind of on the same wavelength. Oh, that's scary. Yeah.
It was funny because one of the things I asked the late Ray Buckland was, like, what do you do? I mean, a lot of the rituals are very, very intense. They're very they're laborious sometimes, and and me, Mar. I mean, I really love the old KISS concept. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really do, and I believe intent is like the number one thing that we should be following, what we should be using in everything that we do. So that intent, just the simple fact of either saying a little prayer or, just setting up that intent, with an anointed candle for whatever reason. And tonight will be, tonight of course is for my ancestors. I think it's great. And it was funny. Ray looked at me and he giggled, and he was funny. He had he would giggle. And he looked at me and he says, back in the day, he goes, we had the big circles, we had a lot of stuff outside, we had the bonfire, we kept the bonfires going till dawn in order to go and ward off any of the goblins and anything negative that would come in. And he goes, now, he says, the older that I get, the more I feel that just a simple candle, the act of a simple candle, lighting it and putting the proper intent in there, accomplishes the same thing. And I have to agree with him. That's what I love to do. And and that's coming right from that was coming right from the big man himself. So, well, actually, he was about 5'6", but
well, to me,
in stature, but but in reputation, I mean, he was an amazing person.
Yes, he was. And so we were talking a minute ago, well, not a minute, a couple of minutes ago, about Santa Muerte and one of your favorite saints. And with with your patron saint, I believe, and with the Day of the Dead, the Dia de los Muertos upon us, how do you celebrate that? Or her?
Well, it's funny. I keep it really simple. I like to I like to give offerings, and right now we're kind of in the middle of looking for a new home, and downsizing a little bit, and so my small Santa Muerte effigy and Shango and a lot of my other ones are packed up because I just did they were all part of an exhibition I actually did up at Dragonfly in Williamsville, New York, where I took I didn't take all. I would say I took about half of my haunted and unusual objects, and I put them out according to different traditions and different topics and categories. And but I do have my 3-foot here, and my 3-foot Santa Muerte, and what I'm going to do is, they really, it's sort of like if anybody knows anything about the False Face Medicine Society of the Iroquois Confederacy, you have to go and you have to feed them, you have to honor them. So what I have right now is I have a shot glass, and I put Florida water that's mixed with Hoyt's cologne in it. And back in the 1700s, Florida water or any kind of cologne was very, very expensive. So that was like a very huge honor to leave for the deities or for, your ancestors. So I do that. I try to do that. Hey, did I ever tell you how where I got the Santa Muerte, the 3-foot effigy? Did I ever tell you that story?
You did, but I don't remember. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell everybody. Right. It's a funny story. I live very close to Canada, and Utu had invited me up to speak at the Witchcraft and Voodoo Festival, and it's great. Well, I was gifted this 3-foot beautiful Santa Muerte statue, and it's got a beautiful wedding dress on her, and she's got the big scythe and the big sickle, and it's just great. So I go up and I'm in Canada, right? And everybody's going, "Oh my God, Tim, make sure you put that in your trunk." And I'm thinking, I don't want to put that in my trunk. I mean, it's dirty. I don't want that to get dirty. So I seat belted her into the back seat.
Oh, good.
And I have to cross international borders here. So I got her in the back seat, and I'm in, waiting in line, and my turn comes up, and I roll up to the gate, and the gentleman says, what was your, here in the United States, get back in. He goes, "What was your purpose going up into Canada?" I said, "Why?" I said, "I spoke." I said, "At a festival." He says, "What's festival?" I said, "At the Witchcraft and Voodoo Festival up in St. Catharines." He looks in and he sees her in the back seat And he goes, are you bringing anything back? And I just pointed backwards. I said, the door prize. He looks at me, looks back, looks at me, and says, have a nice evening. So, and Utu said, only you, looking the way you do, with a a skull shirt on and earrings and the bone goddess, you seat belted in the back seat. Only you could get through customs, and they won't even give you a second thought.
Yeah, I get it, and I can understand it completely. But you were talking about offerings, and I said, I got to do offerings for Samhain. And so I have on the ancestor altar, I kind of deck that up for Samhain. And, I have like different things that belong to the different people who are pictured on the altar. And then when it came to my grandfather, because usually I keep a little water in a little shot glass, because water on the altar is good. And so the water had run down. I was going to go fill it up, and I went, no, you know what? I got to do something for Grandpa. And I don't really have anything here right now that I really like. I mean, I have an old pocket watch of his, but Grandpa did a thing every day, on his way back from work. I mean, not on his way back from when he came home from work. He was a butcher, and he would always have what he called a schnapps before dinner. Now, it was, a little shot of whiskey in a shot glass. So I thought, that's perfect, because I have his little shot glass. So I rummaged around, and I found a little tiny bit of whiskey, and I put it in the glass, and I stuck it on the altar. Well, the altar is one of my bookcase shelves, and it's right next to the desk here. And after about 30 seconds, this strong bourbon smell came pouring out of there. It made my eyes water. It was so strong because it's stuck in the shelf. There's nowhere else for it to go but in my face. So I said, well, maybe it'll tone down a little bit. And it didn't. So then I got up and I did kind of half and half. And I made half, because you can have, whiskey on the rocks, brandy on the rocks, whatever. So, I put water in it. What?
My sainted mother would be disappointed in you, because she always said, no, be careful. Don't put any water in there. Don't put a mixer in with my whiskey. Gently put a couple blocks of ice in there, a little couple cubes of ice, because we don't want to bruise the whiskey. So my mother would be ashamed of you.
I apologize profusely, but it was partly for my health. But even when I watered it down, it was so strong. I had to apologize. I looked at his picture. I apologized profusely. I said, I gave it my best shot, but I can't do this. I'll fall off my chair in about 20 minutes. So, yeah, that was my offering. So I put his stopwatch back up. But who knew?
I think he would have enjoyed the whiskey more.
He would have, sure. But, I have to have my altar places where T won't get it. And so in this bookcase, he can't reach that shelf. So that's the only reason that I have it in the bookcase. And so, yeah. But I did my best, but I did other things. So that's all right. And I will light a candle once it gets dark. So
here in Western New York, it's been dark for a while. So,
sure.
It's so... You know how it is. We just start the celebration a tad early.
That's fine. Yeah, and here the sun is still out, and it all's well. But come daylight savings time, pretty soon. What, this weekend, right?
I don't say that, because I'm appearing someplace this weekend, and in Flint, Michigan, and I'm going to be my brain will be totally scattered if we change. I think you're right, because I think we do it on Saturday.
Saturday night, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, so start unscattering your brain right now, and just kind of ease into it.
There's Mar. You
I know your brain. I know that's a stupid thing to say. I understand. Yeah.
There's no easing in that anything whatsoever.
No, there definitely isn't. But what can I say? And no, Bruce, I don't have to wait for darkness to light a candle. I mean, I don't think it, and I know you're being serious about it. It doesn't matter, but I just kind of like the atmosphere better when I light a candle in the dark, and I can sit and kind of appreciate it more than if it's just sitting there. Yeah, there's my explanation.
Well, Mari, that's just the way you are. You are the princess of darkness. I mean, that's the we always said that for as long as we've known each other. It's like, yeah, Marla is, she's a princess, all right. A little dark.
There we go. Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to give you a fact or fiction question.
Right. I won't know. Go ahead, but I don't have a clue.
Yes, you do. All right. So is Halloween the best time of year to communicate with spirits, or is it just an old wives' tale about the veil getting thinner this time of year?
You know what? I used to think it was the veil getting thinner, but doing paranormal stuff over so many years, I've found that, especially here in Western New York in the East, when you start having more static electricity in the air, communication is easier. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where a lot of it comes from. I know as a medium, I'm more, I can pretty much read anywhere. So I think it's more fiction, and it kind of goes along with more of just of a tradition. However, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think it's my favorite time of year. So if I really want to do a hardcore seance, I always like to do it in the fall. I really do, especially if we're working with table tipping or, we're really trying to get the knocks rocking and rolling in the house. So I don't think it has anything to do with it being thinner, but I think it's because of the static electricity. If we want to start looking at it more in a technical sense, because I'll tell you what, Mar, and I'll tell everybody in the chat room and everybody's listening in, it's amazing. I was fooling around with one of the hack boxes I have. I have 8, 10 of them, I think.
Yeah.
And when I do the laundry, Nancy always knows when I'm doing the laundry because I always put a hack box on, to see what's going on. And so, I mean, just the other day I was down there and I'm, doing laundry and I've got it rocking and I have a filter box on it that kind of, echoes it out. And you know how much I hate the static, but this kind of works really neat. And Nancy heard on this, like up on, the next floor up, she actually said something like to do with, how you doing? It was that strong and it was that defined. So I think a lot of it has to do with, just the static electricity in the air.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to do, just telling everybody, we got a couple of commercial breaks that we're going to do. And the first one is going to be now. So probably about 2 minutes, and we'll be right back.
Stirring the Cauldron will be right back. So don't go away. If you end up with webbed feet, remember, you've been warned. Just in time for Halloween. Explore the second edition of the Witch's Oracle deck through 45 innovative cards and enhanced guidebook that peers into the world of the witch. The deck's stunning artwork has a new look and includes 7 brand new inspirational cards. Each card now includes a suggested crystal or gemstone to enhance your reading, as well as a magical incantation that provides energy, reinforces the card's meaning, and helps the desired message to be sent out into the universe. The easy-to-navigate guide also has a new look and offers straightforward, gentle guidance that takes readers through both good times and bad. And now includes a chapter on crystal and gemstone divination by the amazing Nicholas Pearson. The deck can also be used in conjunction with tarot, the Witch's Oracle. It is a perfect divination deck for witches as well as non-pagans, and is designed to suit both seasoned readers and beginners alike. Find out more about the Witch's Oracle deck at marlabrooks.com, and is now available for pre-ordering from schifferbooks.com and amazon.com.
This is New Aeon Now. News and discussion of the metaphysical, the occult, the paranormal, and much, much more. With your hosts, New Aeon High Priestess, Reverend Lily Alley, head of the Draken chapter of the Order of Paranormal Exploration, Christine Matza. The New Aeon is now. Join us every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for New Aeon Now.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Well, I'm not as beautiful as Marla Brooks, but this is Tim Shaw, and you're listening to the Rev and Witch show, and of course, sharing the hosting duties is the incomparable, the effervescent, the iridescent. You know what? I'm wearing sunglasses right now because I can see her through the magic of the screen, and she's just so radiant. My eyes, I just can't see it. It's almost like looking at Medusa. I'm afraid I'm going to turn to stone.
You might. That's why we're not doing
That's
this
what
on
I'm
video.
afraid of.
I know, and and you've got to remind me to remember to get us some ins and outs for Rev and Witch. Just a little business right here. We got to do that. All right.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. So all right. So let's get back to things. We're talking about the veil getting thinner, whether it is or not. But I had a quick question beforehand from Patty, back to the candle thing. And you can answer this one in your way, because I know how I would. But does it matter how long you leave your candle lit once you light it?
That's a good question. I'm not a proponent of leaving the candles lit all night long. No. Although in many traditions they will, so long as it's in a safe place and you don't have any animals that'll knock it over. So I mean, in that aspect, you probably could. But no, I don't think it's so much the length of time that the candle is lit. I think it's the true intention behind lighting the candle. Because it's, let's face it, Mara, you've heard this before. What's a ritual? The lighting of the candle is a ritual. Mm-hmm. The ritual is nothing more than a powerful stylized prayer. What is a stylized prayer? It is a focused intent. So I believe that the focused intent behind it really makes the difference.
Mm-hmm. That's it. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 hours. But yeah, I don't leave it, never leave a candle unattended. Even if there's no animals in the house, just don't, because things happen. Spirits. I mean, I think I've told you this story, and I think I've maybe said it on the air, but one time during a little mini seance, a candle came all the way across the table, lit, and landed in my lap by itself. And that could very much happen, if you just leave a candle alone.
Oh, yeah.
Spirit can come in and say, okay, let's fun. Could be somebody who was like, really into fire or something. One of those guys.
Well, we were at the Virgin House, and a lot of the listeners out there probably have seen most scariest places, or whatever, most scariest locations. I can never remember the name of the show.
Yeah. On
Travel Channel, and I was part of that project. A little 5-minute clip, which was great. But we had done a hardcore seance out there, and the table, we had a lit candle on the table, and let me tell you, all of a sudden the wrapping started coming in from the bottom of the table, and the table started to tip and move. That thing, that candle was just like, I was afraid that thing was just going to go and mm-hmm. fall on somebody. And hot wax was starting to fly around. So mm-hmm. we actually took the candle off the table and placed it nearby. This way, it was still like an offering. This way, it was still a sign of respect and intent. Mm-hmm. But it was a little bit safer for those of us that were sitting in seance.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, all right, so contacting spirits, speaking of seance, kind of falls into the category of divination, unless, of course, they sometimes contact us first, and then they're doing the divination. But anyway,
Right.
and they do have a tendency to do that sometimes. So that yelling in your ear at 3:00 in the morning, or somebody like poking you in the back and nobody's there, so they will do that. But anyway, so let's say that someone listening in right now wants to successfully contact a spirit, and they may never have done it before, or just whatever. So let's talk about some of the do's and don'ts of contacting spirits, because
Sure.
I have all right, well, let's start with a very simple question. I don't know anyone who doesn't talk to a friend or relative now and then that are on the other side. We talk, hey, Mom, or whatever. When we talk to them, do they actually hear us?
In the physical sense you're mentioning, is that what you're trying to ask?
Well, I mean,
do they actually hear our voices?
Well, I don't necessarily mean because they don't, they're different than we are now. They're not human, so they can pick up a vibe or something, or just feel it maybe. But I mean, do they listen? Do they hear? Do they know when we talk to them in any manner?
I think technically. Again, this is where I split away from a lot of the organized religions that I've worked with, and I believe in the essence. I believe in the essence of thought, the essence of voice, the essence of life in general. So I firmly believe that thoughts are things, and if they are things, they become vibrational in nature, frequency. I believe a lot of that. So I believe spirit is more essence, more frequency, more vibrational. So I believe they understand the essence of what we're saying and who we're talking to and that sort of thing. I'm not a big proponent of people that or of contacting spirit using the Svengali method, where you're sitting there and clenching your butt cheeks and you're trying to go and send out these thought forms. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in opening your mouth and speaking, because your voice is probably the strongest vibration that we have, that we can use to contact spirit. And it's funny, a lot of people, when they ask me, and when I teach a class, they all ask me, well, how does it come to you? How does a spirit talk to you, or whatever? And here's the bottom line. It's all essence. I get the essence of the message, the essence of the words, the essence of smells, the essence of aura, the essence of identifiers, what the person looks like. I get a lot of, it's all essence, and I don't even think twice about it. Years ago I could see this stuff. I mean, I could see auras objectively through my eyes. I used to be able to go and picture the person in my head, this whole thing. And when I started working hardcore, I really worked hardcore, I thought I broke myself because I could no longer do that. But one of my mentors explained to me that, you're trained as a gallery worker. That's what I was originally trained for. So you've got to get 3 messages out in church in 12 minutes. So you can't putz around. I mean, you can't sit there and go, a canoe. I see that. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. You've got to get this. You got to get this message out. Mm-hmm. And when I do gallery work at my casino gigs that I do, I mean, you got 80 people. You got 70, 80 people in the audience. So you've got to get as many messages out as you possibly can in that 50, 55 minute time period, so that you can reach as many people as possible. So by capturing the essence of what it is and allowing just the filter to stop all like the real swear words, but you've got to be able to go and it's a quicker way of doing it. The essence of the words comes quicker than is if I would get I got a person here, blah blah blah, her name is Susan, blah 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 blah, and actually hear it through my ears, subjectively. So yeah, I truly believe that the essence is so important. And when we start breaking things down, when we start looking at different traditions in spell work, especially spell work or conjuring, big time conjuring, it's the essence of everything that we do that really counts. And I believe that it's the essence that comes through. Same thing with ancestral possession work. the drumming, that sort of thing. It's the whole essence taken as a whole, and it just flows. And that's what I believe it truly is. And that's like why, and it was funny because I did up at the Sault Ste. Marie Paracon this year. I was on a panel. Uncle Johnny Zaffis went and he asked for me to be on. And I said when Johnny asked, you have to do it. And I said to Johnny, Johnny, I don't believe in heaven or hell. I said, I don't believe in purgatory. I don't believe in the Summerland. I don't believe in any of that. I believe, he goes, well, what the, Johnny, well, what the hell do you believe in, And I said, well, it's the essence. It's the vibrational thing. It's like, I believe the end of the line for me would be to lose personality, to lose my ego, and just become pure vibration, pure frequency. He goes, well, that's what you want, And that's something that I brought up during the panel. It's where it's like, again, I don't see it, heaven or hell in a more, traditional sense. It just, for me, it doesn't make sense in that way. So I do believe that, the essence of the personality, the essence of spirit, is what we get, and they in turn pick up on our vibrational, our vibrational intent, where we're going and speaking them with our voices, remembering them. It's all thoughts or things, so things become essence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true, and so there's so many different ways that we hear from them. To me, I hear voices, I do, but mostly I see things like, pictures and whatever, and other people hear voices, other people do it, 1,000 different ways. And there's also 1,000 different ways to contact spirit. And I want to talk about some of the do's and don'ts, like I said, because the night is still young. There are going to be people who are sitting there now thinking that they might want to contact a spirit. And so let's throw out some do's and don'ts. And I think sure. Knowing you, what is your most important don't?
Don't go out and look for trouble. Seriously, don't go out and look for trouble. Do you know how many people get on a Ouija board? And you know all the Ouija boards. I've got 63 Ouija boards that I own personally. And I just taught a class last week, Friday, just on working with Ouija boards. Don't ask for trouble. Don't look for Zozo. Don't look for something negative. Jesus, what's wrong with you people? Don't do that stuff. The big thing is that don't go and take everything that Spirit tells you as gospel, because everybody, I've rolled into so many people that they go and they tell me these horror stories that, well, Spirit said to do this, Spirit says to do that. Well, here's the bottom line. You've got free will. You don't have to do what Spirit tells you. You don't. And my favorite example, and I'm sure some of your, the listeners out there have all heard me just preach about this. Uncle Joe dies. Now, Uncle Joe comes back and says, I want you to take all your money out of the bank. Excuse me. And if you do research on Ouija boards, you'll see this in the newspapers time and time again. So Uncle Joe says, take all your money out of the bank and you want to invest it in this stock. You do. What happens? You lose everything. Why? Because you got to look at Uncle Joe. If Uncle Joe never worked a day in his life, never had a pot to pee in, never, he did, he well-meaning guy, but did not know how to work stocks, don't listen to them. Don't do it, because people, you just got to remember that. The other thing is boundaries. Boundaries. People get like, well, the Ouija board told me this, or this is what happened. Bottom line is, if you're working with Spirit, you're the mouthpiece. You're the mouthpiece of Spirit. Whether it's a Ouija board, whether you're working with a recorder, whether you're working with a K2 meter, EDI meter, whatever you're working with, the scanner boxes, whatever you're working with. And if you get something that comes through that is a little iffy, it's making you uncomfortable, you don't like it, you get a little, you're like a little hesitant, you've got free will. You can shut it off no matter what it says. No matter what it says. You just gotta, and you gotta do it right. I mean, people don't understand how this is so important to be able to get this stuff right. You have to, somebody told me once that, when you work with a Ouija board, it's not like working with a recorder. I said, why? They're both items of communication. He goes, well, I can turn the recorder off. Well, I can shut down the Ouija board too. And it ends. Mm-hmm. So, you have to have and the other thing is you got to kind of work with it properly. You got to set firm boundaries on anything that you're doing, whether it's paranormal or it's spirit communication. Mm-hmm. You set those firm boundaries. I don't accept swearing. I don't accept this. I don't accept that. Because if you do, I'm shutting you down. That's the way it is, because I'm the one that's in charge. Me, not you, me. If you want to get your message through, this is what you have to do. And people don't do that. And then at the end of whatever you're doing, your session, you got to give whatever it is time to go back, because in basic thought, we're creating an artificial portal. And I never liked vortexes and portals. I always had a problem with that. But lately, the more that I've been working with a couple locations, it seems to make more sense now. And you're creating an artificial portal through intent, because I want this two-way communication. So you're doing that. So you're actually opening the door. So if you're gonna do an EVP session, you're doing Ouija board, you're dancing naked with a chicken outside, whatever, the big thing is you have to close it then. Give spirits time to go back. And a lot of people are like, well, I can't do that. Well, why? Well, it kind of looks dumb. Hey, it's better to look dumb and close it properly than take a little somebody home, a little traveler home with you, which happens. And I can't, Mar, and everybody out there, I can't tell you guys how many times I get a message from somebody going, listen, I was at this location, and I know you've been there, and I brought something back with me. I'm like, well, did you close your, at the end, did you physically or even spiritually close what you were doing, say goodbye, let people, hey, everybody, thank you, for being here, time for you to go. Yeah. Head on back, and then officially close it. Well, no. Well, right there's your problem. There's your problem. You've got to be able to go and do that. And, again, sometimes, modern paranormal investigators, because they see stuff on TV, they don't see that part. And I mean, we have the incomparable Bruce Tango in the chat room today, who I love. I'll tell you what, if I could have another dad, Bruce would be my dad. And Bruce will tell you that he does that. I mean, you'll never see it on TV because it's not interesting. But there's most of the TV people that I've actually worked with, they all have something. They like, okay, we're going to close now. Okay, we're going to end now. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. So just make sure you got to use common sense with this. It's sort of like, working with like a group of people. You have a beginning, you have a middle, and you have an ending. And that's the way you have to think of it.
Yeah, there's a process. There it is. And you need to follow it. I mean, you don't have to go by the book exactly, but there are things, like in witchcraft, we open a circle, we close a circle. Now, you wouldn't know anything about that, Tim, of course. But
no, I wouldn't.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Or mirrors in the windows.
None of that. Yeah. That goes back. That reminds me of the days, the good old days. Oh, I don't know what this is. What are you talking about? I don't know.
That was, yeah. Well,
he wasn't in denial, but he knew who he was and what he was. But I don't know why, of all things, he was afraid to bring it out. But it was like pulling teeth. Well, no. It took me years to get you to say it.
Well, Mar, here was the big thing. I used to work with spiritualist churches,
I know.
And they took a very dim view of the craft. In many, many cases, they took a different view of, the hoodoo and voodoo culture and the, Santeria culture and different traditions. And there was a couple, there's some really progressive spiritualist churches out there, which are a lot of fun. But I had worked with one that was very, very strict. So, that being the case, I had to go and I had to be careful what I put on the air. And the other thing is I never really, I worked in a blue collar situation, and I never really wanted a lot of people to know what I did because Mara, I told you when I was outed as I'll just say as a worker. I told you that story, right? Did I ever tell you that
As a what worker?
As a metaphysical worker, as a.
How about using the vernacular? Come on, say it, spit it out. Go.
Okay, well, the WITCH.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was actually no. Actually, I'm considered a chaos magician, and that's
yes,
even Ray Buckland. He goes, dude. He says he looked at me one day and he says, "What?" He says, "What do you mean? This is what you're doing. You're a chaos magician." So yes, I am not a witch. I am not a Wiccan, but I am a chaos magician, and that's what it is.
That's even much stronger than a witch. If somebody knows what chaos magic is, they would take 3 steps back and say, "Oh my God, get us away from this guy. He's scary."
Well, it was funny because I was helping a local folklorist up here, and we were doing readings, and in between the readings, in between, he was doing tours, and in between the tours, we didn't have anything to do, so I was teaching people how to bend spoons and forks, which is a lot more, it's like mind over matter. It's not the Uri Geller thing. You're actually using 2 fingers, but it just feels like putty. It's hysterical. It's so weird when it does it. And so a photographer comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, do you mind if I take a picture for our local, our little local newspaper?" I said, "Sure, yeah, go ahead." Well, I'm thinking it's like this local neighborhood newspaper, back in the day, before really there was a lot of websites and stuff out. And this was Saturday, 8:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. My late mother calls me. What a great photo in the newspaper, which was the Buffalo News at the time, which is the area's biggest newspaper. I was not only on the picture page, I was in full color, bending a fork or a spoon or something.
Okay.
So of course they get a hold of that, and the union, one of the guys from the department actually got it and put it in the union box where it's locked, where we have all our, back then they had all the minutes of the meetings and all that put there, and it was locked so nobody could tear anything out. And there I was in full color. So I went about my business that day, and I just, all of a sudden I get called to the union trailer. I said, "What do you mean? What's going on?" And they said, "Tim," he said, we really got kind of a delicate subject." And he goes, "Freedom of religion." I went, "Oh, no." He goes, "Well, I just want to let you know, like, half of your department kind of fears you. Some people have said that they don't want to work with you anymore." He goes, "But the other half think it's cool." So he goes, "It's sort of 50-50. But, we have to really be careful with this. It's a freedom thing, you work with Pentecostals and stuff, and, it's up to them. It's how you want to relate to people. But, you might want to think, you might be a little careful." And I said, "No, I'm not going to be careful because this is who I am, and it's about time." And some people were like a little put off, but it wasn't. And all of a sudden, though, years, and this is going back quite a few years, some of you guys may remember Ghost Lab, and with the Kling brothers, who I still love. They really were great. They were just so nice to me, and brought me on and everything, and it was so great. But when I appeared on that show on Discovery, all of a sudden it was like I was the coolest thing since sliced bread. And even the people that didn't like me were like, well, that's cool. It's kind of cool what you're doing then. So, I kind of eased in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And finally spit it out in public, which was amusing.
Well... Right. Yeah,
No.
But it's true. It's true. But I learned, again, the late Ray Buckland, he kind of schooled me on a lot of stuff because he was, that guy was, first of all, he was for being small in stature and so thin. Maybe he was $125, if anything. He was really, just a powerhouse. and he schooled me on exactly, who I am and what I am. And, we're talking to a guy that through an accident, through a newspaper actually lying and putting his name and face in an article, which they said they weren't going to do, his car got burned. People burned his car. Kids would walk up and down in front of his house singing "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead." And of course, back then he had the Wizard of Oz LP, so he blasted it out the window and he was singing with the kids. But he faced a lot of prejudice.
Yes.
And I'll never have to face that much. But you gotta try to own up to who you are, while not going and being perceived as someone who's trying to change the views of other people.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I think you said he called me some kind of witch, but I don't remember now, and that's probably better. Who?
I always remember hedge witch.
Oh, hedge witch. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's never a bad thing.
No. And if anybody ever gets a chance to go to Cleveland, Ohio,
yeah,
please stop in at the Ray Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. It is amazing. It's just amazing. They moved to a bigger storefront, and you walk in there and just say, "Oh my God!" I mean, there are like 3 artifacts from Aleister Crowley there. You've got all sorts of things from Ray. You've got all sorts of things that have been donated, things from his collection, and it's just amazing, So please, if those of you in the East, really go. And there's a great Ethiopian restaurant across the street.
Yeah, there we go. We had to get a foodie in there. Yes, because we basically at heart we all are foodies, but we just don't talk about it too much. But eating.
Well, I talk about it all the time.
You do, yeah, I know. But it's a good thing because it's part of life. But we can get a little bit gluttonous at times, and that's good too. All right, so let me ask you another question. Suppose.
Sure.
Okay, it's still early, and somebody might be sitting there listening to us thinking, maybe I'd like to try to contact whoever, a spirit tonight. So how would somebody that's not familiar with doing it choose what form of divination to start off with? Because you always have to start somewhere, and then, as you know better than I do, you use all different kinds until one resonates with you so well that it's like, something that you do all the time. But for somebody to get started.
I'll just put it right out there, and I know some people will be kind of pissed at me for saying this, but don't. If you haven't taken classes, if you haven't worked with a mentor, if you're afraid, don't. Because there are things out there, there are spirits out there that, first off, it was funny back in the old days. I remember I raised eyebrows when I said spirits lie, and spirits do lie. Mm-hmm. And there are different types of, I teach a course on all the different types of spirits that you might run into on investigations, and one of them is a parasitical spirit. And parasitical spirits are liars. And what they do is they'll create a situation where if you have any kind of fear, that's a chink in your armor, and they will make it so that you're afraid by either doing something physical or mental or whatever. So you got to be careful with that because they feed off of that. Yeah. You've got Zozo, the trickster. Zozo. And as a matter of fact, it was kind of funny. Again, we were up at Sault Ste. Marie, and one of the questions to the panel, the demonology panel, was, has anybody up there, actually been contacted by a demon? I raised my hand. I said, as a matter of fact, last weekend at the Hinsdale house, I was using the Ouija board, and Zozo came through. And you could hear a gasp. And it's like, it's true. Zozo is one of the... Zozo is the Eddie Haskell of demons, and I don't believe in demons. Just nasty little things that try to scare you. And it's probably more parasitical. But what they like to do is they like to, whoever or whatever it is, it tries to go and get you to do things, and it'll be really nice, and it'll tell you that it's somebody that you may know or somebody that you're contacting. So be very careful with that. And then, of course, the end result is always, I need you to do something. And a lot of times that's the opening door to temporal possessions, where in essence of a personality, you're allowing it to come into your being, into your physical being. And that can really cause all sorts of problems. And if you happen to have, a mental health problem, it'll amp that up. It really does. My friend is my friend Fred is one of the greatest guys in the world, and I any questionable cases I send to him because he is a mental health professional, but he's also an exorcist. And you would think that the two wouldn't go together, but they actually do. And he'll be the first one to tell you that, you allow something into you. All you got to say is yes. And it can come in and it can cause problems. It can attach itself to you. And if you ever read Hostage to the Devil by the late Malachi Martin, who was a Jesuit, he was an exorcist. He almost every case that he writes about, the person allowed this essence, this entity, whatever, this personality, to take over their body, or to, or you did something for it. You got to watch that. You really do. And, and again, suggestion is really tough because, it'll tell you to do something. And I think the last case of someone, they used the Ouija board defense, was probably about 15, 20 years ago, where some kids got together and the Ouija board said, kill this other kid. And they went and tracked him down and they stabbed him. Luckily, he didn't die, but he was gravely injured. So you have to watch that. That's why I always tell people, this is, doing contact work is not, and I repeat, not for everybody, and not to be done flippantly. You really got to be serious with it. And that's why I always suggest find a mentor, find a teacher. And of course, inevitably I get, well, there's nobody around there. Well, you know what? If you put it out there, you'll find somebody. You really will.
It came to my mind, which is kind of strange at times, but when you say that you give, when you give them permission to enter your body or whatever, but do they always ask for permission?
Yes.
Always. I mean, straight, flat out. They're not sneaky.
You've got protection up, and they can't. They won't. They won't enter you unless it's either permission or you allow it. Asking is one thing, but it's the fact that you will allow something like that to happen. I mean, I do trance, and how I used to do a lot of trance on the air, and I allowed spirit to come into my body during the ancestral worship and the dances where we become possessed by ancestors, by our ancestors. You allow that. You allow it. You don't ask for it. You allow it, or So you have to allow it, and just by a lot of people, they'll say, no, I don't allow anything. But you have to really be honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. You truly have to be totally honest with yourself, and you have to be able to go and say, I wanted it to happen. And that's where some paranormal investigators get in trouble, because they want something to happen so strongly. Yeah. And sometimes, again, it's kind of slips in. It's a little trickster. Spirits lie. I don't know how many times I've gotten on recorders different names and so-called people that are in there, and I'll ask 3 times, and it won't. You won't get the same answer every time. It's the same thing like with the boards when Zozo came through. I said, "Who am I?" Spell my name, and it spelled Timothy out, but it had a couple extra letters in there, so I knew that was a red flag. That it's not really 100% correct. I said, "Well, what's your name?" And it went XOXO, and I went, "Listen, you're not hugs and kisses, baby. I know that." I said, "What is your name?" And it spelled out Zozo. So I was, you just got to just be careful. You got to be so careful, and you can't allow anything. And like right up front, right up front, before you even walk into a haunted location, before you even want to go and you want to do the spirit contact, you set the boundaries. This is the way it works. I don't allow anything to enter me. I don't allow anything that's lower. I don't allow this. I don't allow that. And you got to believe it 100%. You got to believe it 100%. Because if you don't believe it 100%, that's the Achilles heel, man, and it's going to find it. All the years I've been doing this, and Mar, I mean, I think about it, and it's like, I hate to admit it, but I'm like getting close to 50 years now doing this stuff. Since I was a little kid, I've had one attachment my entire life. So, I guess my system has been working for me, because I know people that, I swear to God, somebody passes gas in the wrong direction and they get possessed or they get an attachment. And that's because they're not prepared or they want to do that. And I call those showboaters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, there's a question in the chat room. You've probably seen it, but I will read it to you anyway, from Steve Shockley. And he said, I've read several publications over the years which subscribe to the belief that transcendental meditation clears your mind to almost a non-thinking mode and opens you up to anything, and including possession. What are your thoughts on that?
I've studied transcendental meditation back in the 80s. I worked with it a lot. And so long as you have natural boundaries, you won't get it. You won't be possessed with it. But you have to have boundaries. No matter what I study, I bring the boundaries with me. Mm-hmm. No matter what it is, I bring the boundaries with me. Whether or not I'm working with Pentecostals, whether I'm working with voodoo or hoodoo, I still always have that simple boundary. And the clearing of the mind, I love it. It's a great thing. It's a fantastic tool. I believe that it's something that a lot of people really should work with, but I don't believe that these entities can actually go and enter your body if inside you, in your innermost being, you wouldn't allow it on a normal basis. Mm-hmm. It's like hypnosis. So it works the same way. Mm-hmm. You'll never do anything that is contrary to your true belief system. And now hear me out on this. Here's the problem. Many people that get involved with transcendental meditation and this whole thing with possession never had a true ethical spiritual boundary or belief system. Many people don't. And that is the big problem, because if you've never had anything to begin with, and I'm not talking like following Catholicism or whatever, because that's dogma, that's an organization. But if you don't believe that you're truly, that you won't do anything, nothing will happen to you that is contrary to your own beliefs. So, yeah, that's just something that I truly believe. I believe that people get in trouble because they lack having a spiritual base. They lack having that belief system. And let's face it, Witchcraft 101, you must believe, so you believe, so it becomes, so it is. That I can't tell people more. That is the true nature of it all. And again, transcendental meditation is fantastic. It was a great tool for me back then. I used it in conjunction with a Siddhara isolation tank back in the 80s, and it was pretty amazing. But I never, intrinsically, I would not allow anything like that to happen to me. Mm-hmm. I am at that point where you can tell good and bad, and no, that's my boundary.
Yeah, and I'll vouch for that as far as the hypnosis simile goes, because I had an experience when I was really young being hypnotized. And the hypnotist was not on the level. I mean, he was a hypnotist, but he had other thoughts in mind. And whatever he suggested, now I didn't even realize I was hypnotized until he took a needle and put it right through my arm, and I didn't feel it. And I thought,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I thought, so it wasn't like when you're under hypnosis that you don't know what you're doing, because I thought I was just perfectly fine. But then he suggested a couple of things, and I just said, no, what are you talking about? And if I was hypnotized, and I didn't have those boundaries, I mean, I probably would have got along with it. But as you're talking about those inner boundaries, those walls that you build up that are part of you, even when you're hypnotized, mine didn't fail. Mine stuck there. So, yeah, you were right.
Exactly. And again, people don't realize that. People don't realize that that you have to have that internal. We all have internal safeguards in place. We all do, and it's up to us whether we use them or not. And I use mine all the time. Although I'll tell you what, I don't know about. I think you were hypnotized that sort of weekend in Tijuana. I think that where
wait a minute.
You came back
Tijuana?
Across the border with no shoes or socks or anything. I don't know what happened down there, so I don't want to know. Smelling like tequila.
No, that was
I don't
the
know.
weekend.
You were going riba a lot.
No, you and Bruce Tango ended up in the Tijuana jail that weekend. I remember that. Yeah. And I
surprised.
And I had the veil, just like the Kingston Trio says. Yes, there they were in the Tijuana jail. But all right, we digress.
That's us.
Yeah, let's move on. 'Cause I can just see the two of you. Oh my God. All right. So, do you think that people? Well, you said that people should kind of have a mentor or a teacher before they do any sort of divination, but I think people always do not follow that strictly. So are you going to say, if I say, is there any form of divination that is completely safe to try? I think I know what your answer is, but go for it.
All forms of divination are 100% safe. If you worked with somebody else. I learned pendulum work from my mother using a needle and thread. I learned Ouija boards basically from mentors back in the 1970s on a polished table using a shot glass or a wine glass. Uh-huh. I used I learned automatic writing planchets using real ancient antique writing planchets. But I learned all of this under the tutelage of some important people, some great mentors of mine. And again, this is not stuff that you go and you play with. This is stuff that I firmly believe that you need to really kind of work with somebody. And it's funny because a lot of people come to one of my classes that I'm working with, like dowsing or pendulum work or whatever, and what I do is I make sure they get 100% of the basics, the belief system, the basics, how, when, and where. Then it's up to you to go and incorporate that intrinsically and then go on with it. So Marla, you've seen the photos of my unusual collection here, and you've seen my all of my tools of divination that I use, and I'm right now I'm throwing bones now, by the way. That's my latest thing that I'm working with.
Okay.
But I'm doing it under tutelage of someone, and I'm learning, slowly. Mm-hmm. You have to do that. I really think that you need to at least take at least one class or find a mentor or somebody. And in this day and age, you can even find internet mentors, which is not as great as one-on-one work, but it's still something more. But it just gives you the basics. I'm a firm believer in learning the basics and going on.
Yeah, and then and you spread it around. I mean, there will be certain things that will resolve your questions about it. Well, maybe I should do this or maybe I shouldn't do that. There are other things that are like falling off a log really easy, and it makes great sense to try them. So
exactly.
But like you said, it's kind of like an ease into that thing where you just don't go in blind, and a lot of people do. They're bulletproof, right? Mm.
Yeah. The one thing you're going to find out is none of us are bulletproof. None of us are bulletproof. And I mean, I've worked with a lot of dark stuff. Yeah. And I mean, none of us are bulletproof. proof. You have to keep your wits about you. You have to do it for the right reason. I mean, it's funny because I have a collection of 1970 ESP and psychic games. That's one of my collections, and I love them. The Kreskin game, the pendulum games, angel cards, the different boards and everything. And I'll tell you what, I don't have a problem using any of them. But I know a woman that called me up, and she had something going on in her house, and I asked her a couple questions, and she was using an angel board, and they did this whole thing. It's like a girls' night out, drinking wine and getting into it. Well, here's the bottom line: she didn't want to really do it in her house. There's your Achilles heel right there. You were afraid of it, so there you go. You just compounded it, and you didn't close it properly. So if you had gone to someone, a mentor, they would have covered all that, and then you put it. I'm going to be totally honest with you. In all of the people that I've taught, not one of them has come back and said, I got an attachment. Not one. A lot of them have come back with questions. This kind of freaked me. This, can you explain this? Why did this happen? That's different. But not one came back with an attachment. And that's because it's gospel. You've got to follow the rules in order to do things.
And people think they can make up their own rules, but, I don't think some understand that dealing with the spiritual world, the other side, or whatever you want to call it, is so much more complex than just, I'm talking to a dead person. There's just layers and layers.
Thrill ride.
No.
You know what I mean? How can I'm not going to disparage anybody that does the public hunts and stuff. A lot of times they're money raisers for the location, to keep the location going, keep it open. I'm all for that. But people, back in the day when the ghost hunts, the public ghost hunts first started, or I shouldn't say first started, but they started to gain more popularity. People actually had equipment. They were doing things. They came in. Now what's happening is you've got a whole different set of people. You got people that want to go to haunted houses. They want the thrill rides. They want all that. Well, be careful what you wish for. It's the monkey's paw, man. Be careful what you wish for, so you may surely get it. Yeah. And now what I see is just people showing up looking to be thrilled, to be shocked, and that's not really great. You got to be careful with that. You got to be very careful with that. And you got to be super careful. If you're leading one of those, you've got to be on your toes. You've got to make sure that everything is open properly, everything is closed properly, and before anybody leaves, everybody is back to normal, especially if you do like overnights. You got to make sure that everybody is, in good shape. You don't want to go and, I've been to places that people started gyrating. They look like shakers, the old shakers that would, they would start dancing and they would just, I've been to places like that. I've been to places that people have had emotional outbursts where they've been laughing hysterically or they're crying. I was at one where somebody said that she felt that Jeffrey Dahmer was trying to get into her body. So you've got to be careful. No, it's it's kind of weird to hear that, but these are things that you have to be prepared for. And, it's sort of like you got to be careful. And that's why luckily, I work, I help out. I shouldn't say I work. I help out some really nice people here in the Buffalo area that actually do take the time to open. And at the very end, they don't care if you got 12 people or if you've got 100 people. They make everybody stand there and be part of a closing. And that's very important. And let me just tell you something psychologically about closings. It's not so much that I'm going to do the hoodoo on you, that I'm going to sprinkle pixie dust on your ass and you're going to go, you're not going to be able to take anybody home with you. But what my job is to reinforce the belief that you will be safe. I can't physically or even spiritually, put a net around you. If you don't believe that you're safe, you've got to believe that you're safe yourself. So it's my job to go and reinforce that and to empower the person that in the people or whatever on a public hunt that they're going to leave, and whatever is in this location is going to be left there. And that's really important.
Yeah, it is. Ceiling Cat has a question, and she said, what about the casual shopper in a Wiccan or voodoo shop? Is that kind of risky? Or that
No. No. And I'll tell you, people that just walk into a shop and leave with some kind of they think they have an attachment, they want the attachment. They want it. They want it. And 9 out of 10 times it makes them feel special. And that just drives me insane, because now they're going to go and they're going to, put some shade on some hardworking people that are trying to go and, have a shop, a specialty shop to go and to serve a certain demographic of the population. And too many people go and this is false expectations. This is stuff that they expect to happen. I walked into a shop and I came out feeling X, Y, and Z. Well, if you walked into that shop and you were empowered and you knew what you were doing, you wouldn't have a problem. Mm-hmm. If you truly believed in your heart of hearts that you were protected, you wouldn't have a problem. And that all goes back to your own basic spirituality, your ethics, and how you deal with everything around. So yeah, I have a huge problem. No, that's like a soapbox for me, because I don't know how many people have said, "Well, I've gone into this location and," well, you know what? I live with haunted objects. I live with them. They're all over my house. Mm-hmm. I have 63 Ouija boards. You want to know something? I don't have a problem with anything. I have one of the dolls. I have a doll from the Burgeon house. Kathy, the owner, gave her to me because she was freaking out. Her granddaughter and paranormal investigators have seen the arm move, and they got like all these nasty EVPs around this little doll. And I took it home. So Kathy asked me the other day, not too long ago, gee, and the doll's name is Sadie. Like, wanted to be called Sadie. Have you ever had a problem with Sadie? I said, absolutely not. And she goes, really? I said, no. I said, because I love and respect the piece. I really do. I think it's just a little Harlequin doll. Mm-hmm. And also, you know what? That doll travels with me more than my wife does, because I take her to all the different events I take her to. In Flint, Michigan, I'll have her with me, and I respect that doll. I respect that doll. I respect every piece that I have in this house. Every piece of jewelry that people, that's been, people say it's negative. I have a lot of stuff that is questionable, and I respect every piece of it, and I don't have a problem. I've never had a problem. Once in a while, when my Ouija boards are up here in the office, I'd get a bang on, the wooden box, the wooden little cabinet that's in, once in a while. But down in the basement with all the other stuff, I never had a shadow, I never had a sound, I never had any of that. And that all goes with respecting the piece and not being afraid of it. So, I've walked into shops. I've walked into some hardcore shops in New Orleans. Let me tell you, I was kind of, it was a little sketchy where I ended up, and never had a problem. Never had a problem with anything. And people, people have got to have that belief. So you believe, so it is.
Mm-hmm. Right. And really quickly, because we have to go to break, Ceiling Cat was saying, well, what about the stuff that they buy to try? Does that get in? And it gets kind of sticky when they're using stuff that
if you don't know
how to
use. If you don't know what you're buying, if you don't have the basics, if you're going to go and let's say you're going to get a sex spell, you're going to have this sex spell. You want to have sex with this woman. The woman wants to have sex with a guy, whatever. You want to have sex with each other. I don't care. If you don't have the basic tools, if you don't have the basic idea of how this works, you shouldn't play with it, because this thing can backfire on you and you can open up a whole can of whoop ass on yourself. People don't get that. People don't get the fact that listen, I can turn around and I could go to events and sell spell kits. I could sell them all day long. I could probably, I was going to say retire, but I'm already retired. Almost. Technically I'm retired. So I could sell them all day long and people would buy them. Here's the bottom line. Would these people actually know how to use them? Or are they using them as something that's a novelty? Or are they going to abuse them?
Mm-hmm. And now you're talking, getting me on my soapbox about that, spells and people doing them.
What is that? If you stand in your soapbox, what are you, 5'1", 5'2"?
And on that happy note, we're going to take another break. And we'll be back in another 2 minutes.
Don't go away. There's more Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks right after these important messages.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show, Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
What Are You Afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para X. From Haunted Road Media comes an exciting new novel by author Marla Brooks. Soul Connection, a deadly obsession. Two lost souls, ripped apart by murder in another century, find each other again in the present, only to discover that the murderer has followed them through time. Can their love save them, or will history repeat itself? Find out in this captivating new novel by Marla Brooks, Soul Connection, a deadly obsession. Available now on Amazon.com and at BarnesandNoble.com.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers, all of this and more, Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Hey, and we're back at the back to the Rev and Witch show, and Marla, I mean, these are really great questions. A lot of people, I'm going to be honest with you, I miss the Parax network, I miss the Parax chat room, because there's some pretty intelligent questions that are being asked, and I really love it. So who knows where I may be outside of hanging out with Bruce Tango in Central America? I don't know. I think maybe we might do that, in the near future. But that's neither here nor there.
We've talked a little bit about that. Maybe so. Yes. Anyway, now that we've dangled the carrot, let's go on to something else and let people keep wondering. And as far as hanging out with Bruce Tango in Central America, I would be afraid hanging out with the two of you at the corner drugstore. Seriously. Two of you together are like I don't know. Be hard to hold my own, I think. So there.
My buddy Bruce. I love Bruce.
I know you do. And I do too. But the two of you together makes me worried. I always have bail money set aside just in case. So when you guys are up at Gettysburg or wherever you are together, I've always got bail money handy. Yes. All right. So we're still talking about the do's and the don'ts of contacting spirits. And we talked about the biggest don't, but I think you also just a minute ago talked about the biggest do is do know what you're doing before you do it, right?
You got to do that thing you know so well. You got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, and once people get into it, okay, so let's suppose that somebody really does know what's going on. They've been through the ropes and everything. But is there one form of divination that nobody should attempt? I mean, almost nobody? Something that's just way too out of control for people?
I think killing somebody and cutting out their entrails and their intestines and reading the future that way, that's a little extreme. I'm going to be honest with you. But although you know that's you and I have talked about this, that is a form of divination.
Yeah, we were going to write that divination book, and all those crazy different ones came up, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you got
chicken entrails.
Well, I've actually read where they've used human entrails too. I mean, it's something that I'm trying to remember if it was in Roman or Greek times. I can't remember. It's been a while since I did read that. But yeah, you've got to be careful with this stuff. And I would go, and to be honest with you, I'm not really afraid to use any form of divination. I'm really not. I guess it's because I'm pretty set in my ways, and of course I wouldn't do these things on extreme stuff unless I really worked with somebody that I truly trusted and I knew that was knowledgeable.
Yeah, and trust is important when we're doing these things. I mean, people, I don't know that we talked about it much, but when we were doing the seances way back when, I mean, initially at the first one, there was a safe word involved. There was all kinds of rules before we even did that show. I mean, I was there. Nancy was, your wife, in the background too. And, yeah, I mean, it's just, you have to trust who's on your team at that point. Because that's it. You never know.
I mean, I don't, it's funny because a lot of people do seance with one medium and then sitters. I like to go and I like to use two mediums. One that's actually conducting it, and one who is the backup. One who is there to, if there's a problem, can bring that person out if they go too deep in the trance, or if there's something else going on. You can actually go and really you have that safeguard in it. So if I'm doing something that's really hardcore like that, if we're doing hardcore seance contact work, right, where we are at a location, we are there to contact a certain person. I usually have a second with me just to be on the safe side. And again, it's not that I'm afraid of it. It's just the fact that I want to make sure that if I go totally under, that someone's there behind me that can just put their hand on my shoulder and say, come back.
Yeah, and you also have to trust somebody 100% and know, like if you're a newbie and you're just getting started, you have to trust the person that you're getting information from too, because there's a lot of people who hang up a shingle and claim to be a million things that they're not. And they seem very honest, and they'll tell you everything that you need to know, but it may be very, very wrong. So it's kind of like you almost need to have some background before you choose somebody to teach you, or at least some common sense.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. I always tell people, if you know what, ask around. Ask around. You want to come to a class, you want to come to a circle, you want to do this, ask around. Just ask around. And you know what? I have people that don't like me, and I have people that have, I think, more people that like what I do. So just ask around. Reputation is far more important than any shingle out there. Because as we all know, people can go and put up a website, and they can go and stand next to Chip Coffey and say, oh, I went and I helped Chip Coffey on a very difficult case. And actually what you did is you went and you saw him at an event and you had a picture taken with him. I've seen that happen. And, Chip is a dear friend of mine. Again, Chip is, I love the man. I think he's a great medium. He's just a good person. And, you got to watch that stuff. I mean, I've seen the same thing. Oh, do you know how many times I had this guy that actually came to my class about, 3 or 4 times. And he ended up, he was doing a seance someplace, and he said, I've studied under Tim Shaw in Buffalo, New York for 12 years. And I'm thinking to myself, I think I knew you, 4 years? So you really kind of got to watch it. You got to kind of get out there and And it's sort of what I call buyer beware. It's like buying a used car. You really know what you're looking for. You got to know the problems. You got to know recalls. You got to figure it out for yourself.
You do. Tabby has a question. She wonders if either one of us have used water scrying, and I'll be the first one to admit I'm a lousy scryer. I mean, Tim made me a beautiful black scrying mirror. It's gorgeous. It must be me, but I mean, because I know his stuff works. All the other stuff he's given to me works great. But so no, I have not used water scrying because that would just be another failure on my book.
Oh no, listen, I gotta tell you something on scrying. It's kind of I teach scrying, as a matter of fact.
I know.
Now, here's the thing about scrying. If you're already a mental medium, you're going to get everything in your mind. It's inevitable. Very seldom will you actually be able to project into. You can look beyond the surface as deep as you possibly can, and very seldom will you be able to go and see the fog that starts to twirl and swirl and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. The reason is because you're already trained in that aspect. It's the way that you're wired now. Mm-hmm. If you aren't a mental medium and you just want to learn scrying safely, and that is when you really have more of an opportunity to look into it. Like John Dee did Queen Victoria's official scryer, or so many, even like the ancestors back in the hunter-gatherer stage. That's what happens. So a lot of people are sort of like, well, it's not working. Yes, it is working, because you're using the piece as a focal point. Mm-hmm. That's what that becomes, a focal point. And you're actually projecting that image into your eyes, into your mind. You're actually tricking your mind to the point where you're actually seeing these things within the mirror, within the crystal ball, within the water. So you have to you have to accept that. And I love scrying because I use everything as a focal point. Mm-hmm. Everything for me becomes a focal point. I've made like two. I made a 12-inch and I've made a 24-inch black mirror that you can hang it on the wall and sit and stare at it. And it's a fantastic, fantastic tool. I've actually seen things in it, but in retrospect, I don't think I saw it objectively. I think I saw it subjectively. So it's awful hard to learn that if you're already working with it. I think once your body gets used to gets wired in a certain way, I think that's sort of the way it's always going to work.
Yeah. So look in the chat room. Look what Charles wrote about does the water you use make a difference?
Not really. not really. Chad, sorry, buddy. Not really. I mean, you can, not to be gross, but you could scry toilet water. I don't believe it does. I don't believe it does. I've scried holy water from a basilica, and I find no difference whatsoever. I really don't.
Yeah. And I think, some people are just more prone to being able to do that than others. Some people can't use pendulums. Some people can't use Ouija boards. I mean, it runs the gamut. So when in divination in general, you need to kind of try everything, not necessarily because it's out there, but there are certain things that will attract you. You'll think about something and somebody go, oh my God, yeah, pendulum. Oh, I got to get one. Rather than, oh, well, I'll try a pendulum one day. It's like picking a tarot deck or an oracle deck up. You pick it up and it tells you it wants you, and you want it.
Right. Well, here's the pendulums. Here's the thing. I used to belong to the Genesee Valley Dowsing Society years and years and years ago, and all the hardcore dowsers that you did map dowsing, that did all this really unreal work. Every one of them used a brass pendulum. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because I'd use like mineral and crystal, and they worked all right for me, but they never really, I was never impressed by it. I remember sending to Amazon. Yes, I'm an Amazon junkie. I sent to Amazon for a brass pendulum. I opened it up, I pulled it out, and the damn thing went on an angle and pointed at me. It was crazy. I mean, it was like, I'd say probably 5-6 seconds it did it. I was like, holy crap, oh my God, And I knew that I could, that was attuned to me. That was something that would work with me. And I've used metal. I haven't used a crystal pendulum in years, because I do witness chambers, where we take a piece of, like I took a piece of human bone and put it in the, a little sliver of human bone and put it in the witness chamber. And a witness chamber is a pendulum that opens up and you can put something in there that you're looking for. And we found small private lost cemeteries on properties, and by map dowsing with it. So what you're whatever you're looking for gold, whatever you can, certain minerals. That's how you can do it, and it works like amazing, But for me, wooden pendulums, anything natural, more wooden works with me, and metal works with me. I just wish I have just beautiful pendulums that people have gifted me, and Buck gave me one, way back when, and they just don't resonate with me. However, that doesn't mean that they won't resonate with everybody.
That's right.
It's all individual. What works with you works. End of story. Because we're all made up differently. It's like, why do I get things the way I do? Why do I get these impressions the way I do? It's my mental makeup, my psychological makeup, my physical makeup, and it's different from everybody else's. So that's why it works with me. That's why things come and work in my, in the way I work, my sphere. The big thing is like, as an instructor, you have to figure out what people are good at and what that will resonate with them. Mm-hmm. So that's the hard thing. So a good teacher will figure that out. We'll present options to you. We'll challenge you, and see where you're going to be, where you feel comfortable, and then push you on. And pendulum work is probably one of the most fun things that you'll ever do. And here I'll give you. Let me give everybody a little instruction. You lose something in your house, right? You lose your keys. What you do is you draw out the floor plan of your house, whether it's 2 floors, 1 floor, whatever. Then you grid it. You take a ruler and you make little squares in there. Hold your pendulum in your right hand. Let it be very still. Lock your elbow onto the table. With your left hand, use a pointer or a pencil and touch every grid. And when, in your mind, you say to yourself, my intent for doing this pendulum work is to find my keys. When you get a reaction, and a reaction is when the pendulum starts to swing or circle, go and mark that corner off, whatever, mark that square off, and then continue going through it and see if there's any other places where it may have the same reaction. If you only get one reaction, regrid that piece, draw some more lines on that, and then you can really pinpoint it in. I can't tell you how many times I've done it to find my own keys, because I'm a man and I have man brain, so I can't remember anything where I set anything down. Mm-hmm. And it works great. I've had students write me and say, oh my God, I can't believe I found this, or I found that, or it was outside in the garage. I can't believe it showed me it. And it's you. And again, I mean, it's nothing more than ideomotor response. You're the antenna. You're actually moving the pendulum through micro movements in your hand, and but you're the antenna. You're getting those. You're getting those vibrations. You're getting that energy, and that works great. So there you go, guys. Damn it, I'm going to go, and I'm teaching this weekend on Sunday in Flint, Michigan. You guys got a freebie. That's great.
Hey, and coming. Oh, everybody should be absolutely amazed that you get a freebie from him, because not that he's cheap or anything, but his wallet makes this really loud, creaky noise when he opens it up. And
have, Marla, I have duct tape on my wallet. That's how old it is.
Yeah, I believe it. Seriously believe it. Duct tape for just about everything works just fine.
Exactly.
Quick question about pendulums. Cece has a pendulum with an amethyst holder and brass at the bottom weight. And it says pendulum crystal on the end or the top where you hold it. Should it make a difference? Or it should make a difference.
Doesn't make a difference. What doesn't make a difference is what resonates with you. That's the secret. That's the secret. What resonates with you. I mean, when I really work hard, and I'm talking, like for a solid month, I am working just with one pendulum, or if I'm working with pendulums, I have a set of dog tags here that I can go and I can scry with the dog tags.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not the piece, it's your intent and how you perfect your own inner antenna. And it doesn't make a difference. However, if it feels right with you, then it's not the fact that it feels right with you. It's the fact that you're comfortable with it. And any form of divination, any form of craft, any form of spell work, you have to be comfortable with it. You have to believe it's going to work, and you have to be very comfortable with it. And if you're comfortable with it, there you go, kid. You know what? Guys and girls and all the ships at sea, that's the 101 on anything that you're working with. If you feel comfortable with it, you're going to get it. Paranormal investigators out there, you guys all know, you know what? I have an old Sony digital recorder that I have had, oh my God, it's got to be 15 years, 16 years I bought it. Stripped off all the filters. Love it. I have some really expensive audio equipment when I go out. I have some really great stuff. You know what? I still use that. I had it in my pocket. I always have it for when I go and I do my EVP work. Why? Because it's mine. It works perfect. I have that belief that it's going to go and it's going to catch an EVP. It's going to, I'm going to get some kind of reaction. So it's just me. It's that intent, and I am confident with it.
Good. One more quick question. Patty wants to know, when you use a pendulum, do you have to open and close the session the same way you would do with, say, a Ouija board?
I would. I absolutely would. The reason being, it's respect. And, I don't feel it's as necessary if you're, like, looking for something, but it's respectful to the earth. It's respectful to the vibrations. I think it's a good thing to just get used to that. Now, in pendulums, you can use an alphabet wheel. Again, Ray Buckland taught me how to use an alphabet wheel with a pendulum, which an alphabet wheel is nothing more than a circle with the alphabet and numbers on it. And, and you can buy commercially, I believe. You can buy pendulum circles that are already printed on cloth. And I believe they're through Wish.com or Geek.com. It's from China. But you can just draw one out, and if you're going to use that now, that's contact work. That's like, now you've really got to open and close it. You really do. I think it's a proper thing to do.
You're right. All right, we just have a few minutes left, and because we haven't heard from you in a long time. What do you got coming up in the next? Well, no, it's never a good thing. But so. What are you up to in the next month or so?
Oh my God! Usually, Marla, you remember how I used to limp through October, just finally to end in October. Yep. Well, now that I'm retired, dude, I'm just keeping busy. As a lot of you guys know, I work for Lockport. I shouldn't say work. I volunteer at Lockport Cable for their community TV. I produce and edit and work on not-for-profit TV shows, which is like a true passion of mine. I love giving back to the community. Paranormally, I'm going to be at Flint, Michigan on Sunday. This coming Sunday, I will be at the Mid-Michigan Parafest. It's going to be fun. I'm going to have some haunted objects, and I'm going to be talking about haunted objects. And surprisingly, I'm going to talk about dowsing. And I've got to get all my little tools and stuff together, so I'm going to be talking about that. The next week after that, I'm going to be in Dundee, Michigan for Old Mill Parafest. I got some great friends Katrina Weidman, who to me, she's the American sweetheart. I love her. She's just a great person. We got some really great people. Oh, and at the Mid Michigan Parafest, my good friend Andrea Perrone. That I just love her to death too. She's going to be there, and then I've got a couple little things coming up in Western New York, and then I'm going to end my season at up in Fort Erie, Ontario. And I'm going to be doing a fantastic Parafest up there. And if anybody wants to know where I'm going to be updating my website, timothytshaw.com. As a matter of fact, I'll be updating it tomorrow, and you can see what's going on. And then I'm going to take the entire month of December off, and maybe into January.
Wow!
Because we're talking about. I'm talking about doing a little TV show. Through the little network I volunteer at, and the little half-hour show, which will be shown for free on through Facebook and YouTube, because I just think it's going to be fun to do, and we're going to do some. I really want to work with that. I got to find a little crew, but Marla and I have been talking about me actually coming back and doing a show here on Para X. So maybe once a month or something. So we'll have to. I'll see how I feel after December and how ambitious I am, because let me tell you, when December comes, I'm going to go and I'm going to hide in my bed for like a week and a half.
Okay, well, we'll know where to find you. We have to go through Nancy and Winifred. Yes, your secretary.
My little Winifred.
Your little Winifred.
And as a matter of fact, it was funny. My little Winifred, my chocolate lab, she's named after Winifred Sanderson of the Hocus Pocus. So this morning, I drop her off at daycare because she's a 4-year-old lab and she needs to run. She likes, I like to get her out there and really get her out there and just run, burn off a lot of energy. I walk in, the girls are all dressed as the Sanderson sisters. It was hysterical. I looked at Winifred and I go, "You're the one I named her after."
Oh, how cute! That is very cute. All right. Well, we're gonna wind down at the moment, so we know where you're going to be, and we know where to find you, and most everybody knows where to find me. And just Saturday night, I'm going to be on the Paranormal View with Henry Foister and CC and all these people talking about the new Oracle deck, and so that's it. Big whoop for me. I mean, that is fine, but I have nothing else going on, so this is good. Oh, wait, Rock with the Shock. Sorry. Tomorrow for 7 to 9 Eastern at rockwiththeshock.com, we're doing a Halloween special. But unlike Tim, I just keep it right around Halloween and then relax. So anyway, Tim, thanks for doing this.
And thanks for just going and forcing me, because you know how you twist my arm to do a Rev and Witch show.
It never broke off yet, right?
You're right.
Mm-hmm. With an emphasis on yet.
Yet.
Yeah, just behave.
Yet.
Just behave and we'll be good. All right. Well, again, thank you. I mean, the chat room was wonderful tonight. The chat room was full and full and full. So we really appreciate it, don't we?
We do. And you know what? Again, it's so nice to have, a great chat room. I miss the Parax chat room because so many other ones are, not as nice, and they don't have the intelligent questions that Parax has. So I do miss it. And everybody, wait a minute, I'm out there. I'm astrally projecting, and I am remote viewing everybody that's in the chat room. You all are beautiful people, and all of your hair is perfect, especially Bruce Tango.
All right. We'll see you soon, guys. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2019. The Mysterioso March by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.com.